Ed, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us for this special segment. And I understand that you were part of a very historical evening in the Stones' history.
I was, yeah. And I'd just like to say before we get started that I've never seen a movie about Altamont. I've never read an article about it. I've never read a book about it. So everything that I'm going to say is strictly from my memory of an event that happened over a half a century ago. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, take us back to that period. I mean, the fateful night happened in December of 1969. You said you were 23 then. Tell us how you heard about the concert happening. How did you first hear about it?
I got home from Vietnam in 1969, and I still had some time left that I owed the Army, a few months. So I was stationed as a staff member at Letterman General Army Hospital in San Francisco. So that's how I ended up in San Francisco in December of 1969.
There must have been conversations or talk happening in the media, either TV or radio or newspaper, about this big show, huh?
Oh, yeah. It was, you have to remember that the event, the venue wasn't chosen, the Altamont Speedway, until 3 days before the event. So they didn't have, a whole lot of time for promotion. But of course, rock was big music back at that time. And I was listening to I can't remember the call letters, but I was listening to the rock station out of San Francisco, and they announced the concert was going to be in just 2 days, and everyone was really excited about it. It was big news.
And how much of a thought went into it about you going? Was it just the minute you heard, you said, "Oh, I'll be there, I'm there," or was it like, "Oh, should I go? Should I not go?"
Oh, no. I was there.
So you're planning on going by yourself?
No. I had bought a 1964 Ford Econoline van. The telephone company was switching over all their old vehicles, so they were selling 1963, 1964 utility vans. So I bought one, and my ex-wife and I, and either 2 or 3 of my Army buddies got into the van, and we got there the evening before the concert because we wanted to make sure we got a good seat. So we camped out, if you want to call it that, and first thing in the morning, we went down to where the stage was, and we were there before almost everybody, so we managed to get a really good seat. So we just waited hours and hours and hours until the concert started.
So by the time you got out there in that morning and you made your way to the stage area, how many people were already out there by then?
Well, the fact that we got a seat. Sometimes we were sitting down, sometimes we were standing up. We got a seat pretty close to the stage, but there was a lot of people there, and I would say that we were one of the. There were already some people there when we got there. They must have camped out right in front of the stage, but 300,000 people there. It was it filled up pretty quick.
By the time the first act came on stage, which was Santana at noon. How was the sound, by the way, from where your perspective was?
Well, since again, the people who were way in the back, I don't know how the sound system was for them, but for us folks that were sitting close, I thought the sound system was just fine. It was good.
I mean, so you had Santana at 12, you had the Flying Burrito Brothers around 2:00. Jefferson Airplane came around 3:30.
Right.
Then you had Crosby, Stills, and Nash coming around 4:45, 5:00-ish.
That was all in the daylight, yeah.
All in the daylight. And, up to this point, what was the your recollection of a vibe in the crowd as the day was moving forward. Did you notice a change in anything in terms of the mood?
No, I thought the mood was really dark and kind of dismal from the get-go.
Really?
Yeah, from the very beginning. I saw a little in the '80s. I just saw a 1 minute snippet of Bob Costas interviewing David Crosby, and David Crosby said that as soon as he got to the grounds of the racetrack, he said, "Wow, there was like just this heaviness that came over everything." You know that he sensed the vibe right away that things maybe just weren't right. You know.
Yeah, and by the time the music was starting, I bet you could probably turn around and look behind you and see this sea of people behind you now. Was that not at all making you a little nervous or made you feel a little uncomfortable that you were in this eye of the hurricane?
Well, yeah. The stage at Woodstock was like 50 feet high. The stage, which I was very close to, the stage at Altamont was 3 feet high. It was crazy. It was absolutely insane that the stage would have been so low to the ground.
And you saw that, and you probably thought that was the first strike of the evening. But oh, well, I got that. That's not going to bode well.
Exactly. Exactly. I think anyone would have thought that. Um, so that was maybe the first sign. And Santana started, and like you said, the Burrito Brothers, and who came after that? You said I can't remember.
Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah, Jefferson Airplane. That's when things started. I noticed things started to get a little out of control, or a lot out of control. The For whatever reason, the bikers got off the stage and started. They had these pull cues, and they were starting to hit people and shove people. And uh, the lead singer for the Jefferson Airplane went into the crowd to try to calm things down, and he was actually knocked unconscious. So yeah, it was. And then the rest of the evening was hardly any better. Um, I don't want in any way to excuse the behavior of the bikers, but they took on an impossible task. I mean, I think if the Marines had been there, they couldn't have done any kind of a job. It was just too hard. It was too difficult. Too many people. The stage was too low. Lots of drugs. Hardly any porta potties. If they had a medical tent, if there was one there, I didn't see it or hear about it. It was extremely poorly planned.
There were a lot of interruptions in the music because of all the fights that were breaking out and all the people jumping on stage that they were trying to get off. Up to that point of the day, let's say, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, was it an enjoyable thing to watch, or did it not feel like a concert?
Well, it wasn't enjoyable for me, but if you were one of the 300,000 people that were in the middle of the crowd or at the on the edges and were listening to it and looking at it from quite a distance, you might have left the concert and thought, "Hey, that was pretty good," because those people weren't privy really to what was going on in front of the stage. So,
How many episodes of violence did you see up front? The pull cues?
yeah, the only thing I remember for sure, I mean, that's in my memory for sure, was during the Jefferson Airplanes gig, and before that and after that there were some, but in my memory of over 50 years ago, it was their set that stood out.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting in this story is that you were there for the entire day, yet by the time the Stones were scheduled to perform at 6 p.m., you decided on some other plans for yourself and your group, right?
Well, my ex-wife and I were together. My group of friends, they just got lost in the crowd. I didn't see them until we all got back to work early the next week. Um, but so I was there all during daylight. I wasn't there at night, and but the vibe was so bad that we decided to leave. And we were actually in good company because the Grateful Dead left also. The Grateful Dead, they said, hey, our kind of music, peace, love, and granola, it's not going to fly with this thing, you know. So they quit. So I was in good company. But unfortunately, by them quitting, and by the way, it's ironic that Jerry Garcia, from what I understand, was one of the organizers of the concert and recommended that the bikers provide security, and then they leave, you know. But the problem with them leaving is there was an hour and a half or 2 hours where nothing was going on, and the Stones waiting for the Stones to come on. So that certainly contributed to the performance, which I didn't see, but of the Rolling Stones.
Now, when did you hear of the aftermath of it all and realize, holy God, if we had stayed in that spot, which you say you were very close to the stage,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, it would have been a risky situation.
yeah, yeah. I don't. I'll probably talking with my friends a few days later because they stayed. So I'm sure you know it was early. It was early on that the one thing that I'd like to say is that the Jefferson Airplane and Santana and the Burrito Brothers and Crosby, Stills and Nash weren't an opening act for the Stones. They weren't an opening act. That they were at the height of their popularity, especially in California. They were a West Coast band. I know it was a Stones concert because I guess from what I understand, they were accused of selling tickets at too steep a price, so they wanted to have a free concert, so they put it on. But yeah, the rest of the lineup, I don't think I'm the only one who thought that way by a long shot, was just as much, you know, people just as much look forward to seeing and hearing those bands as the Stones, I think.
Was it a split-second decision to pack up and go, or was it something you brought up early in the day and you said, you know what, I think we're going
No,
to leave?
it was pretty much there was some violence going on that broke the camel's back, so to speak, and there was a I think what it was, and I have such a vague memory of this, but there was a fella there who was naked and obese, and he was dancing around, and he must have been on speed or something because he wouldn't sit down. And I'm sure the audience around him, he was a distraction. I'm sure he was a distraction to the people on stage, and he was becoming a nuisance. I don't think he was violent. It didn't seem to me, but he was becoming a nuisance. And then I, I guess the bikers came down and beat him up with pool cues or something. I'm not sure. That's so vague in my mind. I'm not really sure about that. When things were calmed down in the crowd, they would kneel so you could see the performers. But if they thought that something was going on, they'd all stand up, and then you couldn't see what was going on with the performers because they were standing up and at the ready with their pool cues.
Here's a shot from the day. I'm not sure what direction we're looking at, but
Yeah, it catches the mood of what was going on. Yeah, that's what it was. Sure, I haven't seen any pictures like this for a really long time, but sure, yeah, that kind of sums it up right there.
needless to say, there were no phones to pass the time.
Oh no, there wasn't. But there were a lot of joints to be passed around. So there you go.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, talk about an ocean of people.
Oh yeah. It was like that. Of course, I was sitting so up front in the crowd, and I wasn't constantly turning my head and looking back, so I didn't have a really good idea of what was going on with the masses, so to speak. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's it right there. Sure.
Now, hopefully, Ed, in this picture next, coming up next, you'll be able to spot yourself and tell me where you are. Now, any luck here? How about that?
No. I didn't go on any helicopter rides, so I never saw it from that view.
Now, here's a shot of some of the commotion going on towards the front of the stage.
Yes. Now, this picture here, I was close enough. That would be how I saw it, just like that.
That perspective, huh?
Yeah, that's how close it was. I could see it that close.
Wow, if you had stayed, that would have been quite dangerous if you had stayed later in the evening in that same spot.
Yeah. It very well could have been. But like I said, a lot of people, most people decided to stay till the end, and I like to think that I was one of the smart ones, along with Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead.
That's right. You all had the right idea. Now, does that look
There's the
familiar?
guy. Oh man. So yeah, he was a nuisance. I don't think he was in any way violent. Maybe later on in the day he did become. I don't know, but he was a nuisance to the crowd, and he was a nuisance, I'm sure, to the performers. But he certainly did not, in any way, deserve the treatment that he got. So, oh, that's the Flying Burrito Brothers. That's Chris Hillman right there, who was in the Birds.
A little trip down memory lane there with some pictures.
just a little. Like I said, I hope I could shed some light on what happened there. And hey, there are all those other bands are Dust in the Wind, and the Stones are still going strong.